So welcome everybody. I'm having some technical difficulty. I can't seem to find where my live stream is. I can't see any comments. Um, so I hope that you are actually here somewhere. I don't know where to find you. Um, but if you are here, that's great. Leave a little comment for me. Sorry about that delay. I was having some challenges. This week's I am Career Sherpa, and my name is Hannah Morgan, and we're going to be talking about how to adjust. Well, the articles that I feature in this week's Summary Sunday are all about how to adjust your job search for based on the pandemic. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to run through the articles that I featured in this week's Summary Sunday and highlight some of the reasons why I thought they were important. I'm also going to put in the very first comment a link to the Summary Sunday so that you can find it easily. So there it is. It's in the first comment. So the first article was written by Allison Doyle and the Balanced Careers, and it is about where to get help. Where to get help when your unemployment runs out. And so one of the first questions that I'm going to ask all of you this very minute is to identify what that date is when your unemployment insurance runs out. If you don't know what that date is, it's going to be it could be a big surprise for you, and I don't want that for you. I want you to know exactly what that date is. And there it makes right now there are a couple of things that make it a little bit tricky. So it may be on your when you log into your unemployment benefits portal, it could be in a lot of different places. But if you don't know the answer, you really for your own peace of mind want to find out that answer. The CARES Act has extended benefits, according to this article, by 13 weeks. And then there's the federal extended benefits that extend high unemployment 13 to 20 weeks. So I really want you to know what that date is for you so that you can make adjustments. Because one of the things that um, Allison writes about in this article, and I agree, you should have started this months ago or weeks ago, but started absolutely this week today. Put yourself on a budget, trim back any of the expenses that you need to are not essential right now, because that's going to allow you to survive just that much longer on unemployment. And I don't want this to become a crisis situation for you. So the other reason you want to have that date in mind and you want to know what that date is because if you need to take part-time work or get a job to stop the financial bleeding, you need to get that lined up before that date hits, not after that date hits. Because it's going to take, even for some of the essential worker jobs, it's going to take a couple of weeks up to a month to get employment there. Now we're headed into the holiday season, which may make it a little bit easier to find opportunities that are seasonal short term, but I wouldn't bank on that. Those are going to be filled up quickly this year. So I want you to know exactly what that time frame is so that you can have that job lined up, part-time, temporary, whatever it is, so that you've got that lined up. The other thing that if you haven't done this already, you really should do this. Contact your creditors and the different organizations, businesses that you pay bills to, and let them know that you are collecting unemployment and find out what options they may be able to provide for you. They may be able to defer your payments till later. They may be able to cut you some slack in different ways. So if you haven't called your creditors yet, also do that right away. And then the other thing that Allison includes in this article are a lot of the different financial assistance and support programs that are available, not just across the United States, but within your own town. There are religious organizations that are providing food and shelter and clothing and different things. I'm not suggesting that you absolutely need those right now, but you should know where to go if and when you do need them. And so this article is really helpful to understand what to do when your unemployment benefits run out. So that was that one. Um, the other article that I shared. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Trisha, good to see you too. Um, the other article that I shared was by Andrew Seaman. He has a newsletter called Get Hired, and I highly recommend that you subscribe to it if you haven't already. Andrew Seaman is an editor for LinkedIn, and his focus is on job search and careers. And he every week specialize or has focused articles on what's going on in today's job hunt. The article that I shared was sort of a compilation from the different pieces of advice he'd had collected based on a post he made, and it was about networking. And one of the things that I loved about this post, and the reason that first responded to it, but also love what he's saying here, is that his emphasis is on starting the networking process with people you already know. I know that sounds crazy because you're thinking, I need to expand my network, but I want you, please, oh, please, oh, please, start with the people you know. Make a list of all of your friends, neighbors, relatives, the service providers like your hairdresser, your mechanic, all of those people so that you have them in mind. And the next time you go in for any of those services or you run into the person or you think you need to reach out to somebody, reach out to the people you know first. A couple reasons. One, they're more likely to want to help because they know you personally and care about you. Two, you know what? Those providers want you to continue to be customers, and you can't do that if you don't have any money. So they have their own pool of clients and customers that they could put you in touch with. So I highly recommend that you reach out to those people that you know first. Start there. The other reason it's a great idea, the third reason it's a great idea to start with the people you already know, is because the people you know are more forgiving. You are more likely to make mistakes. This is not a comfortable situation for you. There are things that you want to get practice doing, and introducing yourself and explaining what you're looking for are two things that you want to get practiced and good at. And starting with your network of people you know first will give you that practice and expertise. So start with the people you know. There's a whole bunch of other good networking advice in there, and I was fortunate enough to be quoted in there. Thank you, Andrew Seaman. I have lifted from Mark Miller, who lifted from somebody else, and I don't even remember who at this point, but the acronym AIR, because I love saying that networking is just asking for air. That means that networking is asking for advice, information, and recommendations. So the next time you get all worked up about not wanting to network, just say, well, I'm asking for air. I'm asking for advice. I'm asking for information, and I'm asking for recommendations. And that's all networking is. It's no big deal. People do it all the time. And when you're not job searching, you do it all the time too. If you need the name of a good mechanic or somebody to fix your washer and dryer, or someone to fix your dishwasher, or a plumber, or whatever, what's the first thing you do? You go to either Facebook, or you pick up your phone and you text your friends, hey, I need a good mechanic. Who can you recommend? We do that all the time. That's all we're doing here with networking. I need your advice on something. You don't have to tell the person what it is. I need your advice on something. Can we have a quick phone call? All right. So there you go. Or I need information. Perhaps I think you might be able to help. Can we set up a quick call? I need your recommendation on something. Can you set up a quick conversation to talk? There you go. With your friends and family, the people that you know best, you don't need to get into a lot more detail up front. Okay, the next article. I'm running through these because I know that they are in in your inbox, and you can check them out, or they're already there. But this article caught my eye on LinkedIn for a particular reason. We are all having lots and lots of video calls, right? We I know that all the counseling that I've been doing for the past few years has all been done either by phone or Skype or now Zoom. So one of the things that we have to understand is that with the camera, we've got a very limited scope. It's our voice and our body. We don't have a lot of other things going on. We can't meet people in person. So when there's just a video of you and somebody else talking, that can be a little bit hard, especially if you don't know the person that well. So this article called Seven Magic Phrases That Make You Instantly Likable on Video Calls is awesome. And let me tell you why. Because sometimes you're on a call with somebody and they say something and you're like, oh wow, that makes me feel really good. Or, oh wow, that's wonderful. So when you feel good, you're more likely to remember the person that you're having a conversation with. And when they are more likely to remember you, they're more likely to help you in the future. So Your goal with any phone call, any Zoom call, any video call is to make yourself likable. And that is the gist of this article. So here are some things that you can say, because remember, networking, which is what you're doing with these people, you're having video calls, is only asking for air, advice, information, recommendations. So imagine saying this while you're having a conversation with somebody. You ask them a question and they give you an answer and you say, can you say that again? I want to write that down. Think about how smart that person on the other end of the camera feels when you say, can you say that again? I want to write it down. Or I never thought of that way. I want to write that down. Or I love that idea. I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. That really solidifies in the other person's mind, wow, I'm pretty smart. I'm good. Or the other question, if they ask you a question back or you're in the dialogue and you can say, gosh, thanks for asking. I'm glad you're asking me that question. Or, um, something along those. Thanks for asking. I learned that from whomever. Thanks for asking. Another good thing. This happens a lot, and it happens more on cell phones than it does on video. But have you ever gotten to the point where you're talking over the person and you're both talking at the same time and you can't hear what either one can't hear what each other's saying? It happens to me a lot. And so this makes sense for me to say. I don't know if it would make sense for all of you to say, but it's something like, sorry I interrupted you. I get so excited. Please continue, right? Or sorry to interrupt. I'm really into this topic, so I love talking about it. Anything like that. So it really does two things. Number one, it shows your enthusiasm, but more importantly, it shows respect for the person. You're saying, I didn't mean to talk over you without having to say, oh, I'm sorry, and just leave it at that. Um, I'd love your input on something, again, because people love being asked for their advice. And there are a few others which aren't necessarily as great. The last one's pretty cool. Lately, I'm so sick of video calls, but actually this was pretty fun talking to you. So thanks for taking the time to do this with me. Right. Go read that article because there are some good ones. There are some good phrases, and I'd love to hear about how you're going to use those in some of your video calls this week. The next article was about by the Muse, and it was about the kinds of questions that companies that are hiring remote workers or work from home workers are asking to really dive into what specific skills the employer is looking for. And so I want you to read the whole article, but I'm going to sum it up by saying there's a new batch of skills that are becoming more important in a virtual workplace or a remote workplace. And those are, according to the Muse, reliability. Are you going to do what you say you're going to do? Because I'm not going to be there to check up on you, right? So they're going to ask questions to prove your reliability, questions to test your communication skills, because communication is really important in these uncertain times of COVID. So how well and thorough and good is your communication? Independence, which is somewhat similar to reliability, but independent, can you work independently? In other words, are you going to be able to motivate yourself and get things done without a manager or somebody else having to have their thumb on you? So you probably should be prepared to answer questions about times where you've worked successfully independently. Initiative, testing how many times the times where you've been successful in taking initiative. Again, because you don't have someone overseeing you, are you going to be the kind of employee that is going to take the right kind of initiative, and get things done rather than waiting for me to tell you what to do each step of the way? How good are you at collaboration? Collaboration virtually is much more challenging than it is collaborating with a team that meets in person. So think of a story that emphasizes the time you were successful collaborating and organizing and resolving conflict. So there are a whole bunch of different skill sets there. So I'm a huge proponent of star stories. I would say to myself, okay, I need an example of a time where I had to manage conflict in the workplace. And I'm going to write down the best example of that story, keeping in mind that that's going to help people understand how I'm going to operate in a remote workplace, right? I would do that for each one of these. Collaboration, I need a story that talks about a time where I was able to collaborate with people who were located in different locations. I need to show an example of a time where I took the right kind of initiative to get something done. I need a story of a time where I was effective in communicating with people who were working remotely in different remote project elements. So, right, get my point? So that is the beauty of this article because it really helps you understand that if we were having regular in-person interviews, I think people would be still focused on the traditional, do you have the skills to do the job? But now we've added this whole nother layer of I need people to be successful remote workers, work from home workers, before I can even think about having them do the job. So that's what this article was about by the Muse. It's called 10 Remote Job Interview Questions You've Got to Be Ready to Answer. The next article, I get this every once in a while. I talk to people that say, Hannah, you don't write a lot about age discrimination. And I'm like, you know what? There's a reason why I don't write about age discrimination. Yeah, it happens. But usually when people think age discrimination is what's going on, it's a couple of different other things. One, it is the person is applying for jobs that are too low level, which they shouldn't be applying for anyway, and so therefore they're not being looked at or considered. The other thing that happens is that you've applied for a job online and the company's main focus is not necessarily filling that job, it is managing the business. And so there's oftentimes a delay or you don't hear back or the company goes silent or that ghosting thing happens, right? It's not because you're old, it's because the company is so focused on managing their business that bringing in somebody new into the organization is no longer a top priority, and that slips and they've got to wait for that fire to be put out or that other issue internal to the operations to die down so they have the bandwidth to actually do the interviewing process and get back to candidates. So if you are assuming, and you know what happens when you assume, if you are assuming that the reason you're not hearing back from companies is because they are practicing age discrimination, Robin Ryan wrote this article and she interviewed a woman who wrote a book on the topic. Let me just tell you what her name is. Her name is Brenda Abdullah. Um, and they both, what this article says is that, you know what, most of the time it's not age discrimination that is the reason people are not getting back to you. It's something completely different that has nothing to do with age. It has to do with them. It's them, not you, right? Then the last article that I shared was from the World Economic Forum. I love checking out what they say once in a while because I always find their research and their data fascinating. So this article by the World Economic Forum is called Five Charts Showing the Jobs of a Post-Pandemic Future and the Skills You Need to Get Them. So, there are all of these different articles. Let me see if I can I don't want to try and do this, but I could. Um, there are lots of different ways in which people are looking at what's going to happen after the pandemic and trying to predict what new jobs will emerge. And so in this article, the World Economic Forum has consigned the research to look at what jobs are going to be growing and what skills will be in demand. Period end, right? So let me just give you sort of the top 10 jobs that this study predicts are going to be growing by 2025 after the pandemic. They're going to be probably 97 million jobs in these areas. Data analysts and scientists, AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists, digital marketing and strategy specialists, process automation specialists, business development professionals, digital transformation specialists, information security analysts, software and applications developers, and Internet of Things specialists. So those are the growing jobs in demand. Jobs with a decrease in demand are going to be data entry clerks. We don't need data entry clerks anymore. That happens by the end user, right? Administrative and executive secretaries decreasing. Accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks decreasing. Accountants and auditors decreasing. Assembly and factory workers. Business services and administration managers. Client information and client customer service workers, because all of this stuff is being automated. So if these are, and if you, I want you to look through that. If you are currently in any of these decreasing jobs with decreasing demand, I want you to continue to read the article because one of the things that is the highlight of this for me and should be for you too is that how it looks at how long it takes for people to learn and master some of the new skills that are in the data science area. And while there is a mastery gap according to this chart, 72 days to master a skill, 80 days to master a skill. It takes less than like 3 months to master any of these skills. So, even though you may not have enough of all of the skills needed for some of those new jobs of the future, you have at least 50% or more of the skill sets that you need. And with a little bit of training and online and in-person work, you can begin mastering. So the name of this and the rule, not the name of this, what I want you to take away from this is that professional development, ongoing development of skills needed for the future of work is in your court. You own that, right? And if you go to LinkedIn Learning, you can see many, many, many different skills that can be learned for low cost or no cost and some concentrated effort. And you can say, I don't like learning stuff online. And I'll say, well, that's where we are right now because classes aren't happening in person, as you know. So, and you've got a little bit of downtime, invest 2 hours a day to teach yourself a new skill, one that will be in demand in the future and help make you more marketable. That's what this is all about. So, those were the articles in today and yesterday's Summary Sunday. I will say I was really happy, pleased, flattered that a company by the name of what's their called Sparrows featured me as one of their people to follow, and I had not heard of Sparrows before. They do sort of online a single online portfolio page that lists all your different logins for different social media platforms. It's free, and I'm going to be writing about it in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. There used to be a lot more of these platforms that were sort of aggregators of all your social media content. It was sort of like a splash page or a specialty page that was focused on you and your social media accounts. They all sort of went away over the last few years, but it looks like they're making a comeback. Oh, you know what? There was one more article in here that I forgot to mention from Bob McIntosh, so sorry about that. Hot job interview trends for 2020, what the experts say. Now, this was written pre-pandemic. This was written probably in January or February before the pandemic hit. But a lot of the things that are mentioned in here by some of the experts that Bob interviewed are still applicable today. So I want you to check that out too, because you will be interviewing, and I don't want any of these things to catch you off guard or be a surprise. So those are the all of the articles that we have for this week's Summary Sunday. And I'm going to come over to the comments here and see if there are any questions that you all have this week that I can answer for you. I am thinking in the back of my head, I want to be doing some more webinars, some free and some paid. So I am just looking for ideas on topics that may be of interest from you. And Rosa, thank you. Yes, 80 days is still a small investment to master a skill, right? it 80 days is nothing, right? So we can do this and it's worth it to definitely work on our own professional growth and development. And oh, by the way, if you're in job search and someone says, well, what have you been doing since you've been unemployed? What a great answer it is. I've been taking some online classes in data analytics to help brush up the skills and give me additional knowledge in that area because I realize it's going to be important to this role moving forward, right? I thank you, Michael. I'm glad you love you love the summary. I love putting this together every week. So it's really been, I've been doing it for years, and it's probably the my favorite thing of the week. It's the one article that I really, really look forward to writing. I'm updating a lot of articles these days that are sort of older on my site to brush up, give them a fresh look and to make sure that they're relevant. But I always look forward to compiling the summary Sunday. So. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? Trisha, how are you doing? How is the search going for you? Matt Gritman, really good question. Matt's question is, how are companies onboarding new employees virtually? And I can't speak to that. I just know that they are. So I envision there are probably lots of different ways that's happening through online webinars, like the same sort of HR stuff that is sort of a test and quiz to prove you followed the rules and procedures for discrimination and all the HR policy and procedure. So there's probably some of that online checkboxing stuff, but I bet you very much like you would in a regular workplace, you probably have they may set up meetings for you with different leaders or different organization, other people in the organization to meet them either together or individually through Zoom. Um, it's always going to be a little dicey to make that to acclimate. You know what? But here's the other thing. I have known some people who started sort of during the pandemic that actually did go into the workplace for a couple of days or one day once a week so that they could actually be in the facility and see what it was like, see what was going on, get some hands-on feel for what it's like. So I would, that's a great question, Matt, and I don't know exactly how. I just know it's probably very different depending on the company. Well, Trisha, my fingers are crossed for you. You've got a bunch of really marketable skills, especially right now. So, send me an email when you get a chance. I want to hear from you. You know what, Matt? You're absolutely right. How do you onboard new employees would be a great interview question. I don't think it's something I would ask in the first interview, but as you get closer to the end of the process, I think that would, I'm curious, how is the onboarding process working for you, and what goes into the onboarding when you're bringing somebody new on during the COVID days? Well, I want to thank you all for being here with me today. If you have any thoughts or ideas of topics that you would like me to talk train on in the upcoming weeks, let me know. What are some of the pain points or areas that you are struggling with the most right now that would be helpful to get some additional perspective on? So any ideas, I welcome those. I'm done. I hope you have a great week. I want you to go out there and get it done, whatever that is. And I will check in and see you next Monday here for Job Search Live. This is Career Sherpa signing off for the week. Thanks for being here with me. Take care.